stuff was just coming out of my nose and my body was wrecked. And I just remember thinking, what in the heck am I doing? You know, I still have 2,400, 2,500 more miles of this.
This is the Adventure Sports Podcast, brought to you by 180 TAC. Get out there and have some fun.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. We got a great episode for you today, but before we get started, I wanted to remind you that if you'd like to become a patron of the show, you can go to patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. It's $5 a month. It gets you access to a lot of extra content, and just think of it as buying the show a couple coffees every month. A little way to give back. So we'd really appreciate it if you took that step. If you're already a patron, thank you. If you're not, consider it. Thanks. All right, so welcome to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Today, I've actually got my best friend, Paul Austin. He's on the line, and he's just going to share with you kind of some of the things he's done with me, by himself. He's a bike tour. He's done the Tour Divide. That follows the Continental Divide Trail. I know we've had a lot of people on the show that have done something like that, but it's always neat to hear someone's fresh perspective and stories on that. He also does ultra running. This guy's run across the state of Florida, self-supported. I mean, I can say this because he's my best friend, but Paul, you're a crazy man in a good way.
I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you are. I've always described you as like a Navy SEAL that is not a Navy SEAL. You're living normal life like the rest of us, but you got this extra level about you. Why don't you just tell us how you got into adventure sports and what exactly it is you do?
Oh, goodness, man. Adventure sports started for me, I guess, in 2010. That's when, you and I decided we were going to do something crazy after I graduated from college. And that's when I cooked up the idea to ship a couple bikes from Florida to Alaska, fly out to Fairbanks, put the bikes together, and then just make our way back to Florida. That's how it all started.
Jeez. Do you remember how the first conversation when we were talking about it? What was that like? Like when we got the idea?
Yeah, I mean, I vaguely remember I was looking at a world map. I said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" I described the trip, and I just remember your face, man. Your mouth kind of just dropped. I remember your eyes just kind of, they went from like a 5 to like a 8 in size, and it was just like from that second, like I knew like you were on board, and I knew I was on board because I wasn't joking around,
man. And
then from that moment on, man, it was insane. We just had this iron will and enthusiasm to just get that thing done, and it was incredible.
Yeah. So would you consider yourself experienced when you first started? Did you know what you were doing?
No. I mean, I was already super, active. And of course, you and I, we met on the basketball team. So we were both very active and into athletics.
Yeah.
But as far as, adventure and things of that nature, no, my experience was, 1 or 2 night camping trips.
Man.
That was the extent of my experience. I didn't own a bicycle at the time. I wasn't a cyclist. I wasn't a cyclist at all. Not even, leisurely, not to commute, nothing.
Golly.
So,
do you remember what you said that first day when we got the idea and you walked out of my apartment? Right before you shut the door.
Yeah, about the chances.
Yeah, about the chances.
Yeah, I think I said I knew how big and I knew how grand the idea was, and it was almost just like a joke. So I think I said I'll give this. I think you probably remember better than me, but I think I said I'll give this a 20% chance of happening.
Yep, 20%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And so, yeah, if you haven't, gotten the picture yet, that's Paul and I were roommates for a year and then remained really good friends. And we flew up to Alaska with our bicycles and rode them back home to Florida, which is where we lived and where we're both from. And,
right.
yeah, man. So why don't you share a couple stories from that trip? What's something that sticks out to you about that?
Oh boy. I would say one of the most vivid memories I have was in Canada, somewhere in the Yukon, and I remember, getting something to eat near Whitehorse, running into some motorcycle guys saying, we've been seeing a lot of bears on the Alcan the way you guys are headed, and then they were just telling us to be careful, but what could we do? We had to keep heading south. So I remember we camped that night, and lo and behold, we were surrounded. Our tent was surrounded by at least one or two bears, and
Yeah.
I'll never forget it, man. That was probably the most scared I'd ever been. It was
Yeah.
pitch black. Thousands of mosquitoes just lined
Mm-hmm.
outside of our tent. Just an eerie feeling. Just hearing the bears grunt and kind of just break all the sticks, and it was crazy.
That was a crazy feeling. That was the most
Yeah,
terrified I've ever been.
yeah, same here.
Man, and do you remember how quiet it was that night when the bear was approaching? Like
Yes.
it felt like it took an hour for it to get up to our tent, and then it was right outside,
Yep.
breathing. You hear it
Yep.
breathing. I
Yep.
remember falling asleep with my heart pounding
Mm.
because like from exhaustion of just waiting. And I remember waking up the next morning thinking, I just fell asleep during this experience of this bear basically pacing around our tent and our
Mm-hmm.
bikes. That was an eerie day after that. I don't know. It was
It,
just
it, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
after that Alaska experience, what did you do next, and what was it like coming home after such a long trip like that?
Yeah, coming home was strange. That was really weird. That was a weird time for me because I had just finished school
Hmm.
and I got a degree in history, and I thought I wanted to be a teacher and also a basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my plan. But I don't know. Essentially, the trip just kind of wrecked my life in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like a drug.
Yeah, it's funny to laugh at now, but honestly, man, it was just like a really, really bad lull in my life where I didn't know what to do next
Hmm.
because I had been so deeply affected by that sense of adventure and travel and
Yeah.
trying to figure out what was next and how could I integrate more of that lifestyle into my future.
Hmm.
It really threw a monkey wrench into my life plan, I guess you could say.
Dang, man. No, I remember going back to school that next semester and failing a bunch of classes because I'd just be sitting in class like staring at that 1,000-yard stare, like
Yeah,
thinking about that grizzly or something. It
yeah,
really screwed me up too. But I know you were super affected by it because we went canoeing that winter and you had shared a lot. And yeah, man, you were at a transition in life so man, that's interesting because we talk about on the show a lot. It's life changing for people, and it's like blissful, and it's all good stuff. But sometimes it totally wrecks you. Like it's the best experience you could imagine, but it just destroys your daily life when you get back. In the sense of like nothing really seems to compare to it.
right.
And biking for 2.5 months isn't really something you can just do on the weekend or whenever you want between responsibilities. So yeah,
Right.
it does put you in a predicament sometimes, and that itself is its own. I don't know. It's its own tour, its own adventure to work through.
Yeah, definitely. I just had so many other I had so like many other life plans for when I got home that didn't include adventure at all.
Yeah.
You know, it was like I enjoyed it so much that, I couldn't see myself going through with these, plans that had already made because, none of them involved me being able to do, cool adventures like that.
Yeah. Was it hard to connect with people about it? Like, because I hear that a lot, and we've read that in books together. When you get home after such a long experience, and imagine people who are out doing stuff for like years, they can't really connect with the people back home because there's just no way for them to understand what you went through.
I mean, I definitely had a hard time. I mean, you're the only person, I could have talked to when I came home that kind of had even the smallest taste of kind of what we went through. Um, I knew no one who did anything like that. I wasn't in any kind of those circles. Orlando, Florida, it's Mickey Mouse land, the entertainment
Yeah.
capital of America.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just did not do that. I was crazy. I was considered crazy, by
By your
pretty much
family.
everyone I knew. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, I remember. And so that's actually a good idea because you're from Orlando, you live in Orlando, but
Right.
in an effort to not feel so isolated, you have gotten involved with a lot of things around there. What's some of the things you do or have done recently?
Well, it's interesting because a couple years after we got back from the Alaska, the transcontinental bike tour,
Mm-hmm.
I met a guy in Canada on the day before we left to do the Tour Divide. So that was 2013.
Yeah, yeah.
He's from DeLand, Florida, which is 40 minutes north of Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, we had never heard of each other, never crossed paths in Florida, but I meet him in Banff, Alberta, and he's known in Central Florida as being like the expert bike packer. So he creates these really awesome routes in Florida and all over the southeast actually. So I met him and then started getting involved in some of the things, some of the bike packing. You can call them races, you can call them time trials, whatever you want to call them. But there are several, all the way from Key West up to, the Alabama, Florida border. So they're all over Florida, and they're actually really fun.
Cool. Yeah. What are they like? Because a lot of people think of Florida as just this super flat, super sandy, maybe just all beach. But like, like where do these routes go, and what are they like to ride them?
Right. Yeah. So the one I'm most familiar with is called the CFIT,
Okay.
which is the acronym for Cross Florida Individual Time Trial. And essentially, what it is you start either on the East Coast or the West Coast, and then you make your way. The route is depending on which way you go, and which option you decide to take.
Mm-hmm.
The route can be from 250 to about 310, 320 miles. The difference in mileage is if you catch the ferry. There's a car ferry that goes over the St. Johns River, and depending on when you get there and your timing, you either catch that or you have to take a pretty large detour up north around to a bridge.
Okay.
Yeah, but the route itself is really neat. It's a mix of road. So it's probably about 100 miles road, 100 miles this dirt path, and then like 50 miles or so of single track.
Are there hills?
Yeah, there's some hills. Goodness, where you go when you get toward the west coast, toward Dunedin, yeah, you definitely pick up a few hills, and you go through Ocala National Forest. That's a really diverse and beautiful place to ride as well.
Man. So I think a lot of people that listen to the show go out and do something like what you did with the Alaska trip or like the Tour Divide, and then have to go back somewhere that probably isn't as desirable. No offense to anybody, but you know what I mean? That doesn't have that culture. When you get back home after something like that, how do you view home at that point? Do you discover new things? Does it disappoint you? What is it like?
Yeah, so like you're just asking like how do I view like the place where I live or where I
Yeah.
have to go back?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's always bittersweet, man. It's like the places, where I try to go adventure, usually I try to go somewhere that's in the mountains because
Right.
I love the mountains.
Yeah.
So when I come, when I know I have to come back to Florida and deal with, negative elevations or zero elevations. Um, yeah, I mean, I can be down a little bit, but ultimately, this is really all I've ever known as far as living somewhere. I've never lived anywhere else.
Hmm.
I get my fix, on things like the lakes. I live right near a lake. I
Yeah.
do a lot of kayaking and paddle boarding, and I don't know, man. You work. It's hard to describe. You work with what you have.
Right.
You can be bitter and mope around, or
Yeah.
you can use what you have. I always try to use what I have, and just try to stay thankful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's hard because I'm from Florida too, and
Right.
just
Right.
growing up there, you kind of get your rut of what you experience, what you go see, and
Right.
it wasn't until I started discovering the West or different places in the world where it's like I come back home and realize, dang, there's like tons of stuff around here that I never knew about because maybe my parents weren't into it or my friends weren't, but then you go back home and it's like, dang, we got these springs, we got this ocean culture and waterways galore. There's all kinds of crazy animals, really, really wild, diverse, tropical places even. And I don't know, every time I'm back home in Florida, it's like there's a list of things that I want to see that I just didn't know about as a kid and frankly didn't care about until my eyes were open through some of the experiences we did together,
No, yeah, I definitely can. Yeah, agree with that. If I think Florida in itself is, man, it's really underrated an outdoor, conducive state or environment. We have the two national parks. We have tons and
Three.
tons of three national parks.
Yeah,
Oh,
Biscayne, Dry Tortugas, and Everglades.
right. Okay. So three national parks, tons of state forests. Got the Ocala National Forest. All the springs, like you said. Yeah, Big Cypress. There's a lot of cool things
It's
here.
remember when we kayaked the Peace River? How just that was an adventure of any caliber. You know what I mean? That was every element, gators to snakes to fit. We caught a turtle and ate it.
I think we caught a glimpse of a Florida panther. I remember that.
Oh yeah, that's right. We caught those crazy people out in the woods. Remember that? Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we won't go into what they were doing, but you can use your imagination. But yeah, man. So Florida, dude, think of all the animals. You got panthers. That's what a mountain lion is. Same thing.
Same thing.
Every creature in the ocean you can imagine, from sharks to stingrays to eels to every fish known to man. All the freshwater stuff. You got gators. You got crocodiles. You've got tons of venomous snakes. Tons.
Yeah.
You've got the right? It's the pythons or the boa constrictors down there now?
Oh, probably both.
Oh, yeah, okay. So huge snakes. You got iguanas like in the trees. Parrots. I remember there was like a flock of parrots that used to fly over our house all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a bizarre place.
Florida's very bizarre. So I read a headline on the news the other day. It said 7 feet long, 150-pound lizard like tormenting residences in Pine Island.
Holy cow. Dude, that's where my father-in-law lives.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I have to ask him about it. He lives on Pine Island.
It was a giant monitor lizard.
Yeah, dude, they used to call that, in my town, they called that they had a nickname for it, like this really sinister, like devil name. But yeah, there's stinking Komodo dragons, monitor lizards, just walking around in the woods. You can come across them that can bite your leg off. It's crazy. Wild pigs, deer.
Yep.
Man, it is a Florida's like the Australia of America. It's just filled with venomous, scary, but exciting stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's not many places you can be attacked by an alligator, a crocodile, and a shark in the same exact spot. Actually,
Yeah.
it might be the only place on earth that can happen, you know?
Yeah.
But
And then you got black bears not too much further north.
dude, that's a great point. You know, I've seen more black bear. I've seen more bears in general in Florida than I have ever seen out west. My mom sent me a video of a bear and two cubs going through her yard probably a year ago now. I was in the middle of Florida. I've only seen 2 bears out here in Colorado, and I remember we went and saw Emily's mom, and we saw 2 bears walking down the beach in Florida, right next to this like wilderness preserve. They were just on the beach, man. I never would imagine I'd see a bear walk in the sands of the ocean. You know,
that's crazy. Awesome.
It was cool.
By now, you certainly know who Bent Gate is. That's for a great reason. Bent Gate Mountaineering has been sponsoring the Adventure Sports Podcast almost from the beginning, and we really appreciate that. They've made it possible for all the great shows to continue coming your way. We want to say thanks by reminding you to go to them for your backcountry gear. If you live in Colorado, then just stop by their store in Golden. If not, go to bentgate.com. They have what you need, from the latest ultralight gear to the tried and true classics for climbing, hiking, and camping, like Arc'teryx, Hilleberg, Nemo, Western Mountaineering, and many more. Need advice? They have you covered there too. Their staff are passionate adventurers who can offer help from their own experiences. Bentgate also hosts lots of events and speakers. Check out their website to see the schedule and to see all of their products. Help take care of the Adventure Sports Podcast by getting your gear from Bentgate Mountaineering.
So a couple years ago, you did a run, the CFIT, which is, I think you already went over the acronym, was Cross Florida Individual Time Trial. And you, 150 miles?
No, I did the 250-mile route.
So you did the 250-mile routes, and you ran it.
Yeah, I ran/hike. I had like a small pack.
Yeah, it was totally self-supported, right?
Yeah, it was unsupported.
Unsupported, okay. What was that like?
A little different than self-supported, a little easier.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure.
Now, what was that like?
That's a long way to carry all your stuff.
Yeah, no, that was crazy. Physically, it was the most challenging thing I think I've ever done. Yeah.
More so than the Tour Divide?
I would say mile for mile, yes. Maybe not overall, but definitely mile for mile. Just because it was so painful for 4 days straight. Because I did it in just over 4 days, and my body had never suffered like that before.
Golly, what was surprising about it in the sense of difficulty? It's pretty flat, but I'm sure it don't really matter when you're 3 days into a 250-mile unsupported run.
What you said? Sorry, say that again. What was most challenging, or what was most surprising?
Well, I remember you saying something about it being really cold, actually.
Yeah,
surprisingly cold at night.
Yeah, so I did it in the first week of December 2015. I had actually just spent Thanksgiving with you and Emily, and came back home, kind of got ready for it. And first week of December, weather can be pretty, pretty fickle in Florida around that time. So you can get anywhere from, mid 80s to low 40s. Mm-hmm. A couple of those nights got into the low 40s, and I just wasn't prepared. I was ultra light. The only thing I had for clothing was my running shorts. I had a long sleeve shirt, just a t-shirt, and like a tank top. That's all I had.
Gosh. What did you sleep in?
I had in my pack. So in my pack, I had water. I had a blow up climate sleeping pad, and I had what do you call those blankets? Those emergency.
Like the reflective blankets.
Yeah, one of those reflective blanket things you kind of crawl into and just, I don't know, lay in. Kind of like a trash bag, but it's like a deluxe trash bag.
You had a deluxe trash bag to sleep in.
Yep. So I got in the deluxe trash bag, and then I just laid on top of my blow up climate sleeping pad for a few hours every day.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize, man, is like 40s, 30s, and 40s in Florida or anywhere that has a lot of humidity
Yeah.
is miserable.
Yeah.
Because the air is so wet. When it's that cold, holy cow. It's like trying to sleep while you're taking a cold shower. It's just it penetrates you to the bone.
Yeah.
That chill. It is awful.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful.
So I know you and I have a lot of memories of how cold we were in Alaska and Canada.
Yeah.
And I was just every bit as cold that
crazy.
That week in Florida. Yep.
Because we were in Alaska in, early mid-spring.
Yeah.
So it was frigid to us being from two Florida boys.
Yeah.
Florida itself gets pretty dang chilly, and during that I remember you saying that was surprisingly difficult part of the trip. But so yeah, man. So what have you been up to lately? What kind of things do you do to kind of get that fixed now?
Yeah, it's pretty tough. I mean, I have a 3-year-old daughter, so that a lot's changed since she came into the world. Been married. I mean, I've been married now for 6 years, so nothing's changed there. My wife's always been really supportive, and she's always been a fan of the things you and I do or I do alone. But yeah, since the baby's come, I guess you could say like just mostly just like single day or 2-day like ultra running events. I've done a few 50 milers, did a 100 miler. I did the tour or the C-Fit again, not on foot though. I did it on bike last year. Yeah, I mean, I've been on the water a lot. I have a stand-up paddleboard. So,
cool.
Yeah, I'll either go on the lake or I'll take it to one of the springs or Econ River. Yeah, there's a lot of cool waterways within an hour of my house. So I try to get out and do that with the family or by myself. I'll take the baby, on gator-infested rivers. She's fine.
Oh, man. Yeah, she's fine.
Oh,
for you. I don't know about for Jenny.
Yeah, Jenny, gets her heart pounding, but the baby, Shane, she loves it.
Oh, man, that's awesome. Y'all see a lot of gators out there?
Yeah, on the Econ, definitely. The Econ's is known for gators.
Wow.
Yeah, it runs through the Little Big Econ State Forest. It's pretty cool.
Dang, man.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been there.
Yeah, it's where the Florida Trail runs through.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. Florida has like 1,000-mile through hiking trail, like the Appalachian Trail, PCT, any of those.
Yep.
Obviously, it's probably not as dramatic, but there are people that do it and absolutely love it because of the uniqueness of it.
Yeah, definitely.
I hope we can offer a Camp Crate itinerary there one day. But, so dude, yeah. So in 2013, we did the Tour Divide together.
Right.
Which, if you've listened to the show or you know anything about it, it's a bike race that starts in Alberta, Canada, and Banff, beautiful, beautiful setting, and goes all the way down to the Mexican border along the bicycle version of the Continental Divide Trail.
Right.
And yeah, man, it is a wild, wild ride. And yeah, you and I did that together. Why don't you tell people how we found out about it?
Yeah, so we found out about it 2 years before we started. 2 years before we started the actual route in 2011. You and I went through Jasper and Banff National Parks, and we actually went through Banff just happenstance the same week that all the cyclists were getting ready to leave, and
Man.
they thought we were part of it. We were just a couple bums, just cycling through band.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I think we said we wanted to do it, and 2 years later we did it. Damn.
That was a wild thing. I think we were still pretty fresh and didn't know what we were doing.
Oh yeah.
But gosh, like we were just kids,
Yep.
And
Yep.
I just remember feeling so inadequate and inexperienced out there and feeling like I have no clue what I got myself into. And I remember personally just like it sucks from day one because it was so tough. I've always been the wimp, but what was something you remember that was pretty vivid from that trip?
The Tour Divide?
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I remember probably day 3. I think we had we crossed over into the States at the end of day 2, and then the next day, I think the end of day 3, I remember we had some lovely people near Whitefish. Okay, was it Whitefish? They took us into their house, and I remember we got a home cooked meal and a shower, and I just remember like taking a shower, like I blew my nose, and literally like just gunk would pour out of my nose. So that happened for like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds. Stuff was just coming out of my nose and my body was wrecked. And I just remember thinking, what in the heck am I doing? I still have 2,400, 2,500 more miles of this.
Jeez, man.
And like,
yeah.
I was wrecked, man.
Yeah, I remember waking up on day 3 and everyone just kind of looked like they had made the worst decision of their life. Everyone kind of congregated at that gas station.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we all got like breakfast sandwiches and everyone was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going all out today.
Right.
I gotta chill. I'm gonna kill myself.
All right.
There are those crazy guys though, man. I don't know how they do it. There are people that do that race and they sleep like an hour a night for 2 weeks straight, and man, forget that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I can't. I don't have that ability, probably because I don't have that desire.
Yeah.
No, man, I feel like you're someone that could do that if you really wanted to. You pretty much, you're the type of guy, Paul, that like you just tell your body, I'm going to get up at 2 a.m. and run for 4 hours, and you just do it. Like you don't even question it. Whereas me, it's like torture. Trying to convince myself to get up and do something that's miserable.
Yeah. So yeah, the CFIT, when I ran it, that's essentially what I did. I slept for about 3 hours a day for 4 days. So I had, I don't know, 12 hours of sleep in about 4 days. And I just pushed my body to the edge.
Gosh, man. That is absolutely crazy. No, it's I don't know, do you enjoy that? Do you enjoy pressing that hard?
Yeah, so I enjoy both sides of it. I mean, I definitely enjoy the touring. And then when I'm by myself, I definitely enjoy kind of pushing, just like I said, just kind of seeing where the edge is. I don't know, that's something I've always really enjoyed, and something I'm kind of just naturally driven towards is just seeing what's possible. And that's, it's like one of the reasons I do these things. For me, it's a big experiment, just something that tests you in every facet of life, every facet of what you're made of. Like nothing else can really test you, physically, mentally, spiritually. So I don't know, I get a thrill out of just seeing what's possible.
Dang. Do you feel like you've hit your ceiling then?
No, not yet. No, because I've
What
only.
do you think that would take?
You have to fail eventually, and I've been able to complete most of the things I've done.
Yeah, you're not like me. That just quits.
I failed things for sure, but if you keep achieving, what you set out to do, then now you're nowhere close to your ceiling.
Right. Yeah. So what do you think it would take for Paul Austin to hit his ceiling? Fly?
Man.
I'm just kidding.
Well, I mean, I know I would love to do the trip that you did a summer ago with the 14ers, the human powered, cycling to all the 14ers and then summit all of them. That, I've had crazy ideas about running across, United States.
Yeah, you should do it.
Yeah, there's a triathlon every year in Florida. It's actually right in my backyard on the lake that I live 2 blocks down from. It's an Ultraman, so it's like a double Ironman. Thought about doing that.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so
Dang.
there's lots of things I want to do to just still see what's possible.
So what's I think a lot of people will relate to this. What's in the way for you? Or what are some of the things that have to take priority?
Oh, I mean, definitely, taking care of my family is number one. That's been the biggest. That's been the biggest balance, since I've had the baby, is trying to balance work, being a dad, being a husband, and then being able to do these crazy, crazy little trips, without them.
Do you find that balance difficult?
Yeah, definitely. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, probably number one because I want to be with them so bad, but I know they don't want to they don't want to run across Florida.
Yeah, your 3-year-old doesn't want to run across Florida, huh?
Yeah, honestly, man, and don't tell Jenny I said this, but I've thought about putting Shane in the Bob stroller and doing the C-fit like with her
Oh, well,
with her in the
okay.
stroller.
I won't tell her. Just it's going to be broadcasted to thousands of people. Okay.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I won't tell her about it. She won't know.
In the little Bob, you talking about off road or on road biking, or you
No,
said
no,
running?
the run. Put her in a Bob
Oh,
and just run. Do what I did in 2015. So it's like
oh my God.
100 miles off road, 100 on, and 50 single track.
Do you think Shane wants to do that?
I don't know, man.
She might be like, Dad, this is boring, and you're really sweaty.
Yeah, she's so awesome. She loves being outside. She loves the adventure. But
Right.
obviously, a 3-year-old would probably get pretty cranky being in a stroller for 20 hours a day.
Bouncing around, getting
Right,
your sippy cup knocked out.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe wait till she's a little older. Can you see yourself doing something with her? Like, I don't know, like a bike tour or a run
Yeah,
in the
definitely.
future?
Definitely.
Okay.
I'm friends with guys who have done the Tour Divide, with their daughter. She was like 13 or 14, so a little older, but
Wow.
that would be amazing. I'd love to do that.
Yeah. What a cool kid to be able to do that. What a cool story.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah.
Just talked with a couple that are biking. They've been biking now since they retired all around the world, and
Uh-huh.
their kids think they're crazy because their kids weren't able to do it with them when they were kids, and they're adults now. But yeah, I think that's something they mentioned they wanted that to happen. They wish they would have been able to do that. I don't know what kind of effect it has on kids, but I do think, I don't know, a level of respect. But I don't know. At some point, you want to be able to look your kid in the eye and say, like, yeah, go for it, just like I did. You know what I mean?
Right.
Rather than saying, no, I don't do that because it's so uncertain to me because I never tried it, or I never did what I really, really wanted to do,
Yeah.
Now, if Shane has some crazy idea when she's 15, 20 years old, you can say, go for it,
Yeah, definitely. I'm all for that.
If you want to get into backpacking but you're not sure where to start, go check out campcrate.net. Camp Crate can help you plan the backpacking trip of a lifetime and supply you with all the rental gear you need. Simply go online and choose your gear and your itinerary. Camp Crate will then ship your gear anywhere in the U.S. When your trip is finished, use the pre-printed return label to ship the gear back. It's that easy. Camp Crate. Rent, explore, return.
What's a funny story that you can think of from one of our trips together?
Oh,
I've got a lot that I always think of, but I always want to hear what it is, what it's like from your perspective.
yeah. I think you actually shared this story on this podcast like a year ago, but the one where we got separated in New Mexico on the Tour Divide. And then you ended up, because I remember you and I, we needed each other to navigate. So you had like one half of the set of maps, and then I had the other half. I don't know why we did that. Maybe I think it was like a checks and balances, or like a balance of power or something.
Well, you know why?
What?
I wanted to do that because, hold on one second. No, the reason I wanted to keep the map separated too, because you always left me. You'd be like hours ahead of me, and I'd just be pouting, and slowing down even more because I got a bad attitude about it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, Paul, let me have half the maps, especially ones that are coming up, so that you'll have to wait on me. And then,
oh my god,
and then it backfired on us that one day.
Yep.
When I got separated from you guys.
Yep.
And so you go ahead and tell.
Oh yeah, so I don't know, as far as I can remember, we got separated. You didn't have any maps. Or maybe you did. I don't know. But I was with another guy, Eddie. He had one of those fancy GPS things that we didn't know existed.
Dude, we didn't even have a working cyclocomputer. Remember that?
No, we didn't. No.
Every turn, we were guessing if this was the right turn.
Right.
And there could be 5 turns in 2 miles.
Yeah.
And we were guessing every single turn.
Yeah. Our saving grace was riders in front of us, their tracks.
Yep. And hoping that they weren't all making wrong turns too, which happened a couple of times.
Yeah. We always went with the majority. So if there was a left or right and we saw like 20 tracks to the left, but like 6 to the right, we always went with the majority.
And that was how we navigated to Mexico.
And that's a hell of a story, man. We made it from Alberta to the border of Mexico with paper maps.
Yeah.
Off-road.
So what was this story?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so anyway, you got separated. Cell phone service was real sketch right there. Yeah, had no idea where you were. Me and this guy, Eddie, we went, I think it was like 80, 90 miles with no services. Oh, yeah, we had left Platoro, Colorado at like 4 a.m., 5 a.m. that morning because we knew we had 80 or 90 with no services. And me and Eddie made it to the hotel. We had dinner. I ordered you a burrito, expecting you to roll in within an hour. You never showed. Could not connect on the cell phone. I was really worried about you, man. It was 4th of July.
That's right.
We hooked up the next morning, and you had this crazy off the wall like Seinfeld story that was almost unbelievable. I remember that being like the funniest part, one of the most memorable parts of the entire trip. So in a nutshell, you ran out of water, you ran out of like food, and you rolled up. I think you were off route. You rolled up in this little
by 20 miles.
Yeah. So you got off track. You saw a family celebrating the 4th in their front yard. You crashed the party, asked if you could have like a snack or a drink. I remember you telling me they were really polite, invited you in, gave you a Coke. You took a sip and passed out in their living room.
Yep. Passed out.
Right. So the way I remember it is you came to, they were fanning you. Who knows what they were doing, but you woke up and they offered to give you a ride or something. I don't remember. You got back on route and we met up. Yeah. I think I waited for you, and the town was Abiquiu or something like that.
Abiquiu. It was dude. That night, I could not find you. They took me back on route, and I kept going down the road. I could not find you, and it started raining really hard.
Yep.
So I got underneath. There was a truck just parked out in this like ranger station looking thing.
Yep.
Nobody was there, so I just laid up underneath the truck and slept until the next morning. Mm-hmm. Got up and biked right at sunrise, and I pull up at this out of nowhere. There was this resort with a golf course and beautiful buildings. It was like Adobe style buildings, and right on the daggum front porch, you were sitting there eating a breakfast burrito.
A full
meal.
I have one for you though.
You did. You're like, oh, shoot. Hey, this one's for you.
I probably chucked it at your head or something.
Oh, man. That was stressful, man. That was a stressful night.
It was. That was a
I
tough.
was like, I have no idea where you were.
That was a tough 100-mile stretch for sure.
Yeah. Man, that was funny.
It was.
And yeah, I mean, it's like you could have beat my tail on that race, but you stayed with me, and I appreciate it. And we actually did a race the last 30 miles of the route.
Yeah, something like that in the chewy Kakuin desert. I don't know how to say it.
I don't know. I just remember you. We were both standing up on the pedals for quite a while, and you ran me off the road, and I fell in the ditch.
Yeah.
Right at the end.
Gosh, yeah, that's that competitiveness. You have competitiveness in you too, though. You know.
Yeah, I just ain't got the body to compete.
Yeah.
At your level.
Now that was impressive what we did. We went all out for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, on a super flat road. It was tough pedaling, but yeah, man, those were awesome experiences.
Life-changing.
Yeah, they were, weren't they?
Yeah.
And I think it's important for people to know that they're life-changing, but then there's like all these choices that come after you discover like a passion like that.
Mm-hmm.
That might not be pleasant, might not be easy, and got to carry. It's almost like those are lessons that you learn, all those trips that we did and that other people can do, and you got to implement it into your normal life or it'll drive you crazy, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for Paul? What do you think you'll be doing adventure sports wise? Or
I mean, on the books right now, I just committed to actually with Jordan, our buddy. We're gonna do one of Carlos's, the guy I mentioned earlier in the podcast.
Yeah.
We're gonna do one of his routes up in the Panhandle of Florida, and that's called the Tally Tango. So that's like a 160-ish mile loop that goes around Tallahassee, the outskirts of Tallahassee, down to the Gulf at the southern point of the circle, and then at the north goes up toward Alabama. So that sounds actually pretty fun.
Does that go through Tate's Hell?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
But I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is, but I believe that's on the route.
I think it's just a big empty spot on the map that's full of forest and wild country.
Okay.
And, yeah, you're probably going through like Apalachicola or East Point or something.
Yep, Apalachicola.
That's where my mother-in-law lives.
Okay. There's some national or state forests right there we go through. I forget what it's called.
Man, that'd be cool. When is that?
That's October 6th.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, and that Carlos, he is shout out to him. He's the single track samurai, right?
Right. That's his alias. Yep.
Yeah. And if you live in the Southeast and you want some cool bike packing routes, this guy does a good job from what I've heard from you and from other people.
Yeah. Amazing routes for sure.
That's got to be a daunting task to write routes.
Oh yeah, he spends a lot of time doing this stuff.
And he doesn't charge for these trips, right?
I think it's just like donation based. A lot of people give 30, 40, $50.
Dang. Man, it's people like him that like I'm amazed by, you know?
Yeah.
They just do this stuff because they want to. And so many people benefit from it, but they might not benefit like monetarily, but I'm sure it's not about that for him, of course. I don't know. It's pretty humbling to see people that put together adventures for others like that. It's kind of what we do at Camp Crate, but it ain't free. You know, ain't even close.
No, yeah, I hear you.
So you got that? Anything else in the distant future, or just gonna play it by ear?
No, I mean, in the meantime, I'm gonna keep. I'm always trying to stay in shape. Mostly running and swimming. I don't even own a bike. Yeah. I don't own a bike right now, so I'm just borrowing someone's bike for the.
You sold your bikes?
Yeah, I sold my bikes.
Dang.
So I'm borrowing one of Jordan's bikes for the Tally Tango.
What happened to your mountain bike?
I sold it, man.
Why?
I just couldn't justify just keeping it around for. I only rode it like 4 or 5 days a year.
You got no sentimental bone in your body, do you?
No, not really. No.
Man, you do not. Because that one, I was like, 10-year anniversary of the Alaska trip. We got to go for a ride on the same bikes. And nope, Paul sold it on eBay.
Yeah, it's gone.
Well, that's good, man. You don't hold on to stuff forever.
No.
But unlike me, I'm like, oh, that bike, that's going to be with me till I die.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's one of
My kids.
that's one of the ways I've been affected by these kind of trips is I've become like a ultra, not ultra, but I've become just a minimalist, you know. I have a strict rule, you know, life rule. It's called the 365 rule. If I don't use something in 365 days, if I don't use something in a year, it's automatically gone. And if I only use it a handful of times in a year, then I take a really hard look if I need it at all, and usually get rid of it.
So your bikes are one of them. Is there any other weird object that you've gotten rid of after a year?
No, I wasn't using the bikes enough, so they were gone. No, I mean, mostly it's just random things, you know, clothing, shoes, tools. You know, I use a lot of tools. It really bugs my wife. I mean, it would probably bug a lot of people, but really bugs my wife.
Why?
Because I usually don't console her. I mean, even if it's one of like our mutual items, like
Gosh, can't be doing that.
Something around the house. Yeah. If she doesn't use it in a year, then I'm like, you know, see ya. But then, you know, it's my luck. She'll need it the next day.
Oh yeah, so. No, that's how it goes, man. You can't be doing that. You gotta talk to your wife about it. But dang, man, I can't believe you got rid of both your bikes. I don't know. It's like I want to frame that thing somehow.
Yeah. No, man, it doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, I mean, that's good. Dang, anything else you want to share with the guests before departing? Any advice?
Yeah, I think I kind of touched on it already, but I think one of the biggest reasons why people are hesitant to do some of the things like we've talked about on the show today, is because of just not knowing. Just, I feel like they're inexperienced and they feel like failure is probably like the imminent, you know, result of what they're going to do. And I would just try to say from what I've learned and from what I've learned with you is try not to view an adventure as a pass or fail, like a pass or fail test. Try to view it as like an experiment with like an uncertain outcome.
Okay.
So that pretty much, for me, it takes away all the pressure. For me, it's not really like a mountainous triumph if I complete it, and it's not a, you know, bottom of the barrel feeling if I fail. It's an experiment, like I said earlier, to see what's possible, and just really to see, you know, what you can do, what your body personally can do. And
that's good advice.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think it's huge to even, because then, you know, there's no pressure to attempt something like that.
Yeah, and honestly, it's you can criticize someone all you want for trying something and they fail. If you ain't doing it, then shut up. You know what I mean? You're on the sidelines. You're not participating in the game. You know, we had a guy probably a month ago now or more, David Morrow, who did the 7 Summits, and he was saying that he recognized, this was crazy. I thought it was really cool. He recognized that the people who were dead set on summiting, like Everest or Denali, they're usually the ones that failed because the experience was so long. You can't be driven by that single goal when it's still like a month and a half away. You know what I mean? Or like even when it's still like 10 days out, because that goal was so big. That's almost like trying to be driven by some goal that's 20 years down the road. It's really hard to stay focused every day. And he was saying the guys that were like, I'm here for the experience, I'm here for the camaraderie, I'm here for like that next cup of hot coffee or a hot chocolate, that next beautiful sunrise. He goes, those guys with that kind of attitude are the ones that seem to do the best mentally, that seem to get along better with people, and ultimately had just a better chance of success, which seems so counterintuitive. But I mean, the more I talk to people like you and like him, feel like you guys share some of those same qualities. Like, yeah, be driven by that goal, but you got to really enjoy like the little tiniest thing.
Yes, absolutely. And I call that like the principle of small victories. Like if I get up, if I'm on if I'm with you and we're trying to make it from Montana to, I don't know, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Montana is a huge state, right? So I don't think about the big goal. I just think about, hey, I have to wake up now. It's 8:00 in the morning. I have to wake up, have to get dressed. I have to pack up camp.
Yeah.
That's my first victory of the day.
Yeah.
So you start small and then it starts rolling. And the next victory is getting on your bike, pedaling for an hour, pedaling for the first hour. So that's another victory.
Yep.
And as you start like having more and more victories, these small victories, it's like a snowball. It just starts rolling, picking up, and then it just works, man.
That's good advice, dude.
Yeah.
That can be obviously something you put into every day of your life with achieving any goal. But yeah, it blows my mind what some people can achieve, but it's really all they did more little victories than me, you know? And another good thing that I heard on that same episode by the host, Kurt, he said, mountains are climbed with your head, not your feet and not your hands. And I'm like, man, you bike across the country with your head. Man, you can wind starts pounding, it's raining. Man, you're just like, this, why am I out here? This sucks. This is stupid. And you start losing control of those thoughts, man. And your small victories are out the window.
Yep.
And you've taught me that more than anybody, because I definitely, it's a head game for me. So I'm a lot less successful when I go out and do something on my own, simply because I don't have like the influence of you on every mile, just saying like, shut up and pedal, you know what I mean? Or like zero expression on your face and like, no, this is what we got to do. It's it. Like, there's no, what do you mean you're tired? Or what do you mean it's windy? Of course it is. Like, doesn't matter.
I love it. I can envision myself just saying, come on, man, 20 more minutes.
Yeah.
Let's just pedal for 20 more minutes and see what happens.
I don't think I would have done, I don't think I would have ever started if it wasn't for you.
Well, that's humbling to know, but man, I want to do a trip, dude.
We got a lot of time. We just interviewed a couple that's in their 60s. They just started bike touring when they were 50, and they're like awesome. 15 years in, man. That's a lot of biking, and they were 50 when they started, you know?
Yeah.
We got a long time. I want to carve out some time soon and do something else, and then we'll have you back on and we'll tell some more stories.
Yeah, for sure. I'll have to dig deep and try to get some really good stories from all the trips. I don't get to talk about this a lot, so it's real nice. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Keep plugging away, and I just want you to know, man, it's not you just got so many years ahead of you, and there might be a little lull in your experiences, but you know, the guy that did the 14ers record, that 40-year-old guy, remember him, that climbed them all in record time?
Yeah, I remember you mentioned him to me.
You told me about him, and he.
Oh yeah, he's like a stay-at-home dad, right?
Yeah, well, he was like, yeah, I attempted this when I was like 25, 22, and did it on bike. He did the bike and hike them, and then he's like, and he didn't do them for like 20 years, man, or 15 years. He was like, oh yeah, I was a stay-at-home dad of 4. Didn't do anything, nothing. Like, I took him hiking, like the kid, he was just like off the radar, and then came back out of nowhere and just killed it.
That's awesome.
I don't know, man. It's just, so I want to encourage you with that.
I'm excited.
All right, dude. Well, I'll let you go, and thanks for making this happen.
No, man, I really appreciate it. I appreciate you having me on. I enjoyed it.
Yes, sir. Let's catch up again soon.
All right, brother. Love you.
All right, love you too, bro.
All right, see you.
All right, see you. All right, everybody. So that was Paul Austin, admittedly my best friend, but also a huge influence to why I've done the things I've done. And Just shout out to everybody out there who is influencing the people around them to do something. I've gotten some recognition, and I definitely love to tell the stories, but I couldn't have done half the things I've done without Paul's influence and without his motivation. And if you've got someone like that in your life, whether it's through adventure sports or your career, or that pushes you on a daily basis, or at some point in your life, they were really influential, I really challenge you, reach out this weekend, and just let them know. Send them a Facebook message, send them an email, a text, a postcard, and just say, hey, thank you for investing in me when I needed it, and it's really brought me to the point I am today. So, Paul, I just want to tell you that personally. I love you, man. And, dude, I admire you. I respect you like very few people I've ever met. So thanks, man. And I look forward to all the things we get to do in the future. So, and also thanks, audience. This is my first time hosting this show. Thanks for indulging me with a friend. It was good to kind of ease into it that way. And yeah, look forward to some changes in the show. Look forward to you being able to be involved as a member of the Adventure Sports Podcast family and as a listener. So look forward to that, and get out there and have some fun.
Thanks for listening to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and be sure to tell all your friends about the show. Everybody deserves a little adventure. Until the next episode, get out there and try something new.